certainly, in a way that he wasn't deliberate and committing the sin. So how do we know that he's chayav for both Shabbos and Yom Kippur? Talmud Leimer Shabbos he, Yom Kippurim hu. We quote different verses, Shabbos he, Yom Kippur, and that tells me that each one is chayav individually. Divrei Rabbi Yossi Aglili. These are the words of Rabbi Yossi Aglili. Now, what the Gemara is asking here is that apparently Rabbi Yossi Haglili is accepting the fact that we can have two prohibitions together. Now, Rashi goes through he asks the question right away that the Gemara is going to discuss, that this is a little different because both prohibitions are starting at the same time, Shabbos and Yom Kippur. So even if I can say, in other words, I can answer this question like that. Rabbi Yossi Aglili doesn't hold the Visser Kailal, so why does he say Shabbos and Yom Kippur Yechayev too? The answer is because they started at the same time. That's why, because Isser Chalal Isser, to add one Isser on another is only when that one was there first. But here they started at the same time, simultaneous. So Rashi says that they really each have an addition. Shabbos has an addition over Yom Kippur, and Yom Kippur has an addition over Shabbos. The addition of Shabbos over Yom Kippur is an Isser Mosif, because of Skila. If someone does work on Shabbos, he gets a death penalty. Does work on Yom Kippur, it's only eating is kares. I think it's only malchus. I think it's only a lav. Work on Yom Kippur.
It says Yom Kippur kadem ha'chayv al zadim alacha first. Ein bein Yom Kippur and Shabbos ela v'echel nefesh. No, ela.
Yom Kippur kadem ha'chayv al zadim alacha kares. Aha. Oh, okay. You're right. Thank you. There's Shabbos is a death penalty, and Yom Kippur is kares. So Shabbos is considered Mosif. It's adding on a stringency over Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is an Isser Kailal, because on Shabbos I'm only not allowed to do work. Yom Kippur I'm also not allowed to eat. So the fact that Yom Kippur falls on like all food, that I'm not allowed to eat it, so that prohibition is also going to go on work as well. The rule of Yom Kippur that gets imposed on other areas is going to be called over here an Isser Kailal. So it's slightly different than what we were using with Isser Kailal before, but okay. Now, so it apparently Rabbi Yossi Aglili that says that you accept both, that you chayav for both Shabbos and Yom Kippur is because of Isser Kailal of Yom Kippur and the Isser Mosif of Shabbos. Rabbi Akiva says Ein chayav alachas. Rabbi Akiva says you only chayav one.
Which one?
I think the Gemara is going to ask. I think the Gemara is going to understand that it's Shabbos. Shalach Ravin, Mishum de Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina. Ravin sent an answer in the name of Rabbi Yossi bar Chanina that Kachatzah shal Mishnah. This is the way that we take this Mishnah. This is the explanation for the Mishnah. Ve'epach, and you have to turn the opinions around. So therefore, Rabbi Yossi Aglili only holds of one prohibition here, and Rabbi Akiva is the one that said two. We've just answered the question. You change the names around, and then it fits. Shalach Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yaakov bar Guri mishum de Rabbi Yechanan. According to this new explanation, that Rabbi Yossi Aglili only says one. L'divrei Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Rabbi Yitzchak bar Yaakov bar Guri says the name of Rabbi Yechanan. L'divrei Rabbi Yossi Aglili, according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, my da'apchan, that we've switched it around. Shagag b'Shabbos hizid b'Yom Kippurim chayev. Hizid b'Shabbos v'shag b'Yom Kippurim pater. Okay. when are you chayiv a sacrifice? Only if you do commit the act b'shoigig. So if he forgot it was Shabbos, but he but he forgot it was Shabbos, but he remembered it was Yom Kippur, and he did the act, he did the work. So, according to Rabbi Eily, he's only chayav one. Shabbos.
Chayav a korban.
So he's chayav a korban only here for Shabbos, not for Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur wasn't counted in this case. However, let's say he knew it was Yom Kippur and he forgot it was Shabbos, then he would be totally exempt from a korban. He knew it was Yom Kippur and forgot it was Shabbos. I'm sorry. He knew it was Shabbos and he forgot it was Yom Kippur. He knew it, so he did it on purpose. So you don't bring a korban if you do it on purpose. And we're only dealing with Shabbos prohibition here because it's Rabbi Eily that doesn't hold of Isser Koilel.
So Shabbos comes first.
So Shabbos is the only one that's going to be relevant here. Okay. The Gemara says, my taima. What's the reason for this? Amar Abaya. Abaya says, Shabbos kviya v'kaima. Yom Kippur beidina de kakavile. Shabbos was there first. Shabbos was there since creation.
Yeah.
Yom Kippur, the Bezdin had to come around and tell us when Yom Kippur was. So that came later. Amalei Rava says, safe, tavaya bahadi hadadi kasid. The fact is, when Shabbos comes in and it's Yom Kippur, they both come at the same time. This could be the basis. There's a discussion in the Minchas Chinuch. If the laws of Shabbos, if you're obligated to keep Shabbos during the week when Shabbos comes. In other words, is the laws of Shabbos only on Shabbos? Or do I have the laws of Shabbos during the week for Shabbos as well? It's the theoretical question. But here, what it sounds like from Rava's statement, from Abaya's statement, is that, what do you mean? The laws of Shabbos are since creation, and Yom Kippur is only going to be imposed when the Bezdin decides when Yom Kippur is. That's when that's when it's going to happen. And Rava says, no. The laws are only on Shabbos. The laws are only on Yom Kippur. When did Shabbos come? Exactly the same time. They come at the same time. Elam Rava.
If somebody's walking in the desert and forgets what day of the week it is, and says Machloikus, what do you do?
Right.
Some say wait. Yeah?
So the ones that hold that you hold Shabbos every day, hold by this.
Right.
The ones that don't hold by this.
Some say wait 6 days and then you keep Shabbos.
Other one says you start right away.
You start right away and keep Shabbos every day.
Yeah. Because they're holding it's always in potential.
I don't know, something like that, yeah.
Funny. Let's think about it.
This sitting next to each other.
We're not paying attention.
So we know that Shabbos is really falling on Shabbos down. There was never going back. There was never a time when there was enough cataclysms in the world that when they messed up and they said, okay, we'll just start. I mean, the Shabbos that we're going to have tonight, is really the real Shabbos. Maybe it's supposed to be Thursday or Wednesday.
At least since the initiation of the Jewish calendar. Because
They might have been in exile. They could have been wandering in the desert or something.
There's this Sambatyon river that stops on Shabbos. It throws rocks. So we know that today's Shabbos.
It does what?
It throws rocks out
But
every
we
day.
want the zip code of this river.
What do you mean throws rocks?
It's a river that flows, and,
Yeah.
and it has rocks coming out all the time. Except on Shabbos, it doesn't have rocks coming out of the river. Like it's rushing. So all the rocks fly out.
There's
during the week.
mamish, I mean,
Yeah,
this has been documented?
Yeah, it's Sambatyon river.
Ooh.
It's, what holiday do we read that on?
I don't know,
It's on-
but it's brought down. Isn't it brought down somewhere? Sambatyon.
Yeah, but I think
famous.
somebody takes it from the Jewish people. It follows the Jewish people first.
Uh-huh.
It knows when the Jewish people are having the Shabbos, so it honors you. So if we get messed up,
I don't think we're going to be able to answer this question, the scientific question, scientifically.
this is really that's how we try to answer.
Expedition to Sahatya.
That's it.
Although I was reading this book, and it's called Menachem ben Yisrael, and in there, in the 1600s, this fellow comes back from South America. he comes to Amsterdam and he has these fantastic stories about these, Indian type people, and whatever, in Ecuador or something like that, that they lived up high on a mountain, and they secret people, and
Like in
I
Peru,
think a lot of
like in Peru,
Peru,
The Incas or the Aztecs.
and
Machu Picchu, and
they claim that these are Jew. They spoke in Hebrew, and they had all of these. Anyway, okay. So Rava says
they threw rocks on Shabbos.
it's the opposite. Okay. So Rava said Tavaya Bahadi Adadikasi. They're both coming at the same time. So why would Rabbi Yossi Aglili only say? Why would Rabbi Yochanan say, according to Rabbi Yossi Aglili, that you only chayav for Shabbos and not for Yom Kippur? Elam Rava Shmadahav. Rava says that this was a time of Shmad, time of religious persecution. Sholchim Yisam, and they sent from Israel, the Yomi the Kippuri da Hashata Shabbatu. Yom Kippur for this year should be on Shabbos, which means the different interpretations here. One interpretation is that the government didn't allow them to keep Yom Kippur. So they weren't allowed to keep Yom Kippur that year, and they were going to have to not celebrate Yom Kippur. So in order for that Yom Kippur shouldn't be forgotten, they said that Shabbos is going to be Yom Kippur this year, because they know that that Shabbos they were allowed to keep, Yom Kippur they weren't. So just to remember the fact that you don't do work on Yom Kippur, they said this year it's going to be Shabbos. They announced that it's going to be Shabbos. Someone does a malacha on that Shabbos, is he going to be obligated to bring a second sacrifice because of Yom Kippur? They said no, that year it wasn't a real Yom Kippur. There's another interpretation here. It's a little bit more complex, but the reason why they turned around the Mishnah and they said that it's the opinion of Rabbi Akiva that says 2. And Rabbi Akiva said 1, and Rabbi Yossi Aglili says 2, which that's not the correct version. Why did they do that? They didn't know how to get the message over to them when Yom Kippur was, because Yom Kippur was prohibited. So what they did was they said that if someone, sent a halacha, and the halacha says that if someone does a malacha on Shabbos that's Yom Kippur, you're chayav 2. In the name of Rabbi Akiva, that Rabbi Akiva is always the halacha. And that they were hoping that they would get the hint that this year Shabbos fell on Yom Kippur, that Yom Kippur fell on Shabbos. And that's what the Gemara is saying here. That why the Gemara is explaining why they switched the opinions around to say it's Rabbi Akiva, because they were sending a secret code that when Yom Kippur fell, because the Beis Din that established the calendar was in Israel. As the Ramban explains this. So too when Ravin came, they all said like Rava, that year was a Shema. They weren't able to celebrate Yom Kippur. Rav Yehuda says, but wasn't it from the time of Yaakov that they were prohibited to eat the Gid Anasha? Why the sage is saying that it's only on kosher animals? The Bnei Yaakov didn't have to eat kosher animals; they could eat any animals, and already they weren't able to eat the Gid Anasha. Therefore, the Gid Anasha should be applied to even non-kosher animals. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Tanya, started in a brayso. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda. They said to Rabbi Yehuda, "V'chinemer al kain layochel Bnei Yaakov." Does it says that the Bnei Yaakov didn't eat it? V'alei nemer al Bnei Yisrael. It says the Bnei Yisrael didn't eat it. V'lei nikru Bnei Yisrael ad Sinai. When were they called the Bnei Yisrael? After Mount Sinai. It's very clear. Ela b'Sinai nemer el shenichtav b'mkaimai. It didn't say therefore the Bnei Yaakov don't eat the Gid Hanasha. It says the Bnei Yisrael don't eat the Gid Hanasha. That means that when the Torah was written, they wrote the Bnei Yisrael don't eat the Gid Hanasha, and they put it back in the story back there. But you look at the language, you see that it comes from later.
Why does it come from later?
Because it says Bnei Yisrael.
But
Yaakov,
his name was changed. The whole episode of
One second. Okay. The Gemara now says, just to be able to understand, just to be able to know what's the reason for it. Masiv Rava asked the question, by Yisuf Bnei Yisrael es Yaakov Aviyam. It says when Yaakov dies, and they carried him to the land of Israel to be buried. So, okay, So we see that they're called Bnei Yisrael when they carried Yaakov back, even in Parshas Vayechi, when he dies. Says that's Lachar Maisa. That's after the story. That's after the story. Amalei Rav Acha Brei Rav Ravashi. May he shaita litzar. So let it be prohibited from the time of Yaakov's death. When they carry Yaakov back, they're already called Bnei Yisrael then. And from then, the Jewish people are prohibited to eat the Gid HaNashem. And by the way, from then, they were allowed to eat non-kosher animals. So Rabbi Yehuda is anyways correct. Amalei, v'chitayra pamim nitna. Do you think the Torah was given a little bit here, a little bit there, and the times like that? When they carried him back to the land of Israel, that's not the time of the giving of the Torah, and that's not the time of the story. So we're not going to say, the Gid HaNashem was prohibited from then. Okay, now, Dr. Stein, your question is...
Why can't one be traditional at that time, and obviously then it becomes obligatory as a mitzvah at the time of the Torah?
Right.
Hey,
Because
something
if it's going to be...
Something happened to their father. They're not going to remember this whole episode. He didn't tell his sons. He says, guess what, guys? Name change, and don't eat that part.
They were traditional Jews.
So here it says...
They went, conservative and then Orthodox,
He is called Yisrael.
It's cute.
There goes the sword.
Lo Yaakov Yomar Shimcha Kim Yisrael Kisur Kim, and then 4 verses later. That's verse. Where's he called Yisrael? It's verse 29. In verse 33, Al Ken Lo Yechlu Bnei Yisrael Es Gid HaNashem. So your question is still there because he's called Yisrael already in verse 29.
Before.
Yeah, and the Gemara is ignoring that. That's a good question.
Hashem came
Not
to him.
just another pretty face.
Hashem came to him and said, your name is...
Not even that.
What happened in verse before? Hashem said, your name is not going to be Yaakov, I'm going to call you Yisrael?
Yes. We'll have to look that up.